But let's shift focus. Let's talk about Mastek. They've bagged a 4-year healthcare contract with NHS Digital. So let's start a little bit more about that and bring on board the global CEO at Mastek, Hiral Chandrana, joining in the show right now. Hiral, hi, good to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking with us today. Walk us through this new order that you've bagged, 45 million pounds over the next 5 years. By when can we actually expect the deal to turn productive? And what are the contours and the nature of this deal exactly?
Sure. Good morning, and thanks for having me on the show. Let me take a little bit of step back so that I can tie things together as it relates to this deal. It's a very strategic and big milestone win for us. It actually goes back to earlier this year when we were selected as part of the broader NHS strategic partner list, where there was an 800 million framework and a few partners that were selected, including Mastek. And if you fast forward to where we are today, this deal in many ways is a first big milestone, at least from our organization perspective. When we interacted last in September, as well as post our October results, we actually communicated two or three things. One is that we're seeing larger deals in the pipeline. We're also betting big on the healthcare sector as a whole. This is globally. And while US is a big market focus for us, but we continue to be very bullish in the UK sector. And we're also betting big on data and automation. So in many ways, this NHS deal brings all those 3-4 dimensions together. And while, of course, it is very strategic from a size and visibility perspective, but we're very delighted to say that it has a huge social impact as well, because this is really sponsored by the Secretary of State, the Health and Social Care Departments in UK. It's to do with the patient safety. It's to do with how we ensure that there's no side effects when there are implants and medical devices that are inserted. So it brings together a lot of intelligence and data so that we can ensure that the patient safety is taken care of. And so it is a 4-year deal, not a 5-year deal. 45 million pounds, as you said, roughly about $60 million. And hopefully starting with that foundation, many more to come in the future.
That's quite interesting. And that's exactly what I wanted to talk about, that besides this NHS deal, what else is happening when it comes to your UK order pipeline? Are there more orders in sight?
Yeah, the pipeline has continued to remain healthy. There are multiple mid-sized to large deals that we are contesting. This deal also gives us, the team has done a fantastic job. We had one of our best leaders move to UK recently to lead that geography, and we've got some good, strong leadership out there. So the winning of this deal in some ways also gives us additional confidence for the future bids, not just at NHS, but also in other public and private sector markets out in the UK. We're actually seeing some good momentum, interestingly, even in Europe, which is outside of UK. And our US business continues to grow in the right direction. We've talked to you in the past about our integration with Evosys, which is the acquisition that we made in the cloud implementation space. And that has now continued to pick up steam where we are getting integrated deals, right? Front office to back office, SaaS cloud managed services deals, which are more end to end, and multiple technologies in the framework with a lot more digital and data embedded into it. So the deal mix is across the board looking positive.
Hiral, that's great to hear. Just trying to understand with this deal win and the pipeline that you're laying out, what is the anticipation in terms of hiring? How large will your workforce have to be, for example, by the end of this year, and how will you have to build it over the course of the next 4 years in order to keep pace with the demand that you see?
Sure. Yeah, how the industry is going through a challenging time from a talent and hiring perspective. We've taken some very specific steps, and we've been very open and vocal about it. We are focused on our top talent. We are focused on digital and cloud skills. most of our businesses in that space. So we're very targeted when it comes to skill transformation, when it comes to hiring. We deal a lot with the business stakeholders, and more and more of our engagements are business outcome based. So while people is a very critical dimension, a lot of our business is starting to get into fixed price and as well as outcome based. So we want to disconnect a little bit, right? The direct dependency on people. Having said that, there's a massive hiring, push for us. We've stepped up. We've actually gotten some new talent in the organization to lead that talent acquisition and recruiting space. There is few hundred people that we'd like to hire every quarter to keep up with the demand. Of course, there is going to be some quarters where we'll have some peaks and valleys, but in general, anywhere between 200 to 500 people every quarter is what we're looking at hiring for the foreseeable future.
Hiral, I take your point about the intention to reduce dependency, but the fact is that your industry as a whole is facing higher costs in terms of the hiring and keeping of those people. Is that going to cause a problem on the margins, or do we expect them, because of the demand environment, because of the need for the services that you provide, those margins will remain strong? Could you give us a guidance as to how that will be?
Sure. I mean, we don't guide margins, as you know. But having said that, I think there is clearly a supply-demand mismatch that industry is going through. I think there's been enough said about it. Now, one of the reasons is the skills that the customers are expecting because of the digital transformation journey that they're going through, and a lot of customers are catching up. A lot of customers are pushing the envelope with new business models. And some of those skills have been around only for 2-3 years, so it's relatively new in terms of looking at full stack engineering plus DevSecOps plus data, in the hyperscaler environment, along with some industry expertise. So that's where the industry is going through, and we are sort of being very targeted, like I said, right? Because we kind of know our customer base, we know what we're going after. We're very focused, as you know. We don't do everything, but what we do, we're really doing well. And so for us, it is a scope of skills that we're looking at. There is going to be some pressure on the cost, no doubt about it. We're seeing that. Everyone is seeing that. There is a little bit more acceptance from the customer base on pricing, even though I don't think that's completely translated into price increases across the board. But we're starting to see, because the customers are going through, our enterprise clients are going through the same challenges, right, when it comes to cost and resources. So they appreciate, particularly for some of the high top talent and niche skills. As far as margins is concerned, we've always said that we feel comfortable in the 20% plus EBITDA range, which is kind of, we've been a little bit higher than that in the 21% range, but our comfort level is about 20%. We feel that there'll be some up and down, in any given quarter, but there's enough, fixed leverage and enough optimization around delivery excellence and automation that we'll be able to maintain those 20+% margins.
Thanks so much, Hiral, for joining in and for laying out those plans for us. Wish you all the best. And thanks so much for speaking to ET Now. And we're completely out of time on this edition of the